Friends, I'm here in the coffee house, just finished munching on a few candy bars because I forgot my lunch. Thanks so much to you again for Pastor Appreciation. I was really loved in that. Not only did I get a bunch of candy bars, Twix, my favorite, which I'm still eating, but I got some cards and some gifts and gift cards and I still have a couple in my glove box in my car, and you bless me with encouragement. And I just want to encourage you today, you to love, to serve, to care, to share Jesus with others, and the new life that we can have now in Jesus Christ, and not get discouraged, but to persist and not give up in your sowing seed. Paul says in Galatians 6, verses 8 and 9, whoever sows to please the flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. I want to tell you about a time I was tempted to give up, a time I sowed a lot of seed, and the surprisingly gorgeous harvest that came from that, though it took a long time. Several years back, we lived on a hill in Ohio, and my kids definitely decided, and I in time decided that it was just too much to mow. So we finally agreed on letting the one side of the hill that faced out to the road become a meadow. At least that was our word for it, the meadow. But to let it grow up, and I got to thinking, wouldn't it be something if we were to sow a lot of wildflower seeds on that hill? But it took a lot of work. I went to the Amish farm store and I got a huge pack of seeds, 38 seeds, and 38 different types of wildflower seeds. And then I got the rototiller, and of course my kids backed off. They saw all the work. And there in eastern Ohio, there's rocks under the ground you can't see. And it took clearing them. It took a lot of tilling, trying to bust up that super hard dirt. It was packed a lot tougher than I realized. The tall, like prairie grasses, the grasses, some of them had deep roots, and you had to yank it out by hand, and it took days. I'd get off from church work, and in the evenings there I'd be with my rototiller, evening after evening, and I tried to make it a labor of love, but it really began to get to me after a while, and I thought, will I ever have this ground prepared? And then finally, it came to the point of sowing the seeds all along the top of the hill, and then it said the seeds needed to stay wet. And for weeks and weeks, they needed to stay wet. So it meant driving home from where my church office was, middle of the day, getting out the hose, very long hose, like 100 feet from our house, and watering. And then it was a hot summer, so going back and doing that again and again. And much more work than I anticipated. But you can imagine later in the summer, I was anticipating a harvest, And it said, wait, 60 days or 90 days. And at that point, I began to look, and virtually nothing sprouted. I couldn't believe. And my kids were like, oh, Dad, we're sorry. And different people in church asked, so how'd that go, Chet? That year, in that fall, it was just nothing. So some private discouragement on my part there. All those hours wasted. But the next spring, you should have seen the bursts of yellow, and then of orange, and then of pink and purple, as all these different flowers began to pop up and spread along the top of that hill. It got so that season, and then the next year even more so, these splashes of color, people would slow down their pickup truck or their cars or driving by outside of town just to look up at our hill and enjoy it. It was really a beautiful, beautiful thing that lasted for months. And when I had given up on it, similarly right now, I've been going into Goshen, Middlebury, and looking at places we can volunteer and serve and make a difference in our community. I've been doing that for weeks now, listening to people, talking to people. I'll just tell you about one. One is the Depot, the thrift store in Goshen, and I stopped in there just the other week right at 12 when they were opening, and just watched all the dozens and dozens and dozens of people going in there to shop. People of all stripes and types, And it's like God said, look at the harvest. And I went and spoke to the director then and said, crazy question, I knew it was, do you need volunteers? She said, oh, we are so desperate for volunteers. I need a couple men who can assemble and just put up some Christmas trees. Very simple assembly. We lost a couple guys doing that who don't do it anymore. And I said, if we were to give some volunteers, would you just put them in the back room and have them doing kind of menial things? And she said, well, people can be in the back room, but also at the same time, I need people right out front who will hand a cart to someone and welcome them and just love on people. And I said, would they be able to, would you be okay if they shared a little bit, and struck up a conversation, mentioned Clinton Frame Church, and she's like, well, of course, and I just need people who are willing to sow. How cool it would be if we had a few more sowers in that place and other venues and places where people so need volunteerism and need a helping hand. So, just want to encourage you, hope that does. Be Christ, persist, do not give up even though you don't see the results. Many, many times I've found that people come to Christ, they come into new life, but it takes some time. It takes not only being friendly, but truly being a friend. Let us not become weary in doing good, guys, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That's a promise from God. Let's live into it. Have a great day.